All right, let's open up one of paleontology's greatest cold cases. It's a story about a creature so profoundly weird, it has left scientists scratching their heads for more than half a century. We are talking, of course, about the Tully Monster. I mean, just take a second and look at this thing. For decades, it's been the main character in a wild scientific detective story. And, it's a puzzle that just seems to get stranger the more we learn. So, what on earth is it? Let's dive in. So our story doesn't start in some fancy high-tech lab. Nope. It starts in the humble shale beds of Illinois, where an amateur collector stumbled upon something that would throw the world of paleontology for a loop. Okay, picture this. It's 1955. A pipe fitter named Francis Tully cracks open a rock and finds, well, this. He had no idea what it was, so he takes it down to the Field Museum in Chicago, and guess what? The experts there were just as clueless as he was. All they could figure out was that this bizarre thing was swimming around about 300 million years ago. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that initial shock. This wasn't just some new kind of fish or crab. It was something that completely defied classification. An eel, a squid, and a cartoon alien. Honestly, that's still one of the best descriptions anyone has come up with. Let's just try to break down this truly bizarre body. So it was soft-bodied, which right away makes the fact that we even have fossils of it pretty incredible. It had this weird flat tail, a super long snout with a claw on the end, and this is the craziest part, its eyes were on stalks, mounted on a rigid bar sticking right out of its head. Like what? Every single piece of it was a new puzzle. With literally no existing animal group to put it in, scientists did the only thing they could. They named it after the guy who found it. And so Tullimonstrum gregarium, or the Tully Monster, was officially born. The name itself is basically an admission of how strange it is. So for decades, the debate just raged on. Scientists were basically throwing every idea they had at the wall, just hoping something would stick. They were desperate to find any known animal group that could claim this bizarre creature. So who were the initial suspects? Well, the list was all over the place. Maybe it was some kind of worm, because, it has that soft, long body. Or maybe a mollusk? Like a slug from your garden's absolute worst nightmare. Some even thought it might be a weird, ancient relative of squids. But the problem was, none of those theories really fit all the bizarre features. And then, silence. For decades, until 2016, when a bombshell study came out. And for a little while, it really seemed like the case was finally closed. It looked like we had our answer. Now, this wasn't just a casual glance. The researchers on this study analyzed over 1,000 different Tully Monster fossils. That's a massive amount of data, which gave their conclusions a ton of weight. They were absolutely determined to solve this thing once and for all. And they found what they thought was the smoking gun. Actually, 3 of them. First, they identified a line running through the creature's body as a notochord. That's basically a primitive backbone. Second, its little claw teeth were made of keratin, just like our fingernails. And third, the chemical signature in its eye pigments was a dead ringer for other vertebrates. So that was it. The verdict was in. The Tully Monster was officially declared a vertebrate, a weird, jawless, distant cousin of the modern lamprey. Mystery solved. The entire science world basically breathed this huge, collective sigh of relief. But not so fast. Just when we all thought we could finally put the Tully Monster in a nice, neat little box, the case was suddenly blown wide open again. New tech and a fresh set of eyes were about to deliver a stunning plot twist. Because as it turns out, that case was far from closed. In fact, that confident conclusion from 2016, it was about to get a serious reality check. So in 2023, a team of researchers in Japan used some incredible 3D scanning technology to re-examine the fossils. And they found some major problems. Those structures that were called gills and fins, they said, these don't match any known vertebrae. And even more damning, they found this weird body segmentation that went all the way into the head, which strongly suggested it couldn't have had a backbone at all. And just like that, the whole vertebrate theory was on really shaky ground. And that brings us right up to today. The Tully file is officially unsolved, and this bizarre creature is just as much of an enigma as it was the day Francis Tully cracked open that rock back in 1955. So where do we stand now? Well, we're kind of back to the drawing board. The leading guess right now is that maybe it's an invertebrate chordate, kind of like a modern lancelet. Or, and this is the really cool possibility, maybe it was just a completely unique evolutionary experiment that left no living relatives behind. A true one-of-a-kind. The debate is as fierce as ever. But here's something amazing. In the midst of all this uncertainty, there's one detail we do know. Its eyes contained pigment granules that are chemically similar to the ones inside our own eyes. It's just this incredible reminder of how all life on Earth is so deeply interconnected, yet at the same time, so wonderfully, wonderfully weird. Ultimately, the story of the Tully Monster is really the story of science itself. It shows us that science isn't about having all the answers locked down. It's a messy, ongoing process of asking questions, discovering new things, and, most importantly, revising what we thought we knew. It is never finished. And all of this leaves us with one last, really tantalizing thought. The Tully Monster was hiding in a piece of rock in Illinois for 300 million years. So you have to wonder, what other incredible monsters are still out there, just waiting in the stone for us to find them?